Hello, everybody. So today we're going to do some installation of Item Platform or CDF from scratch. It's the latest version. It's the 1811. And what I have here is a master worker. They were prepped only in terms of IP and DNS, and the firewalls are turned off. And other than that, nothing was done on those machines. So they are as vanilla as possible, straight out of installation and zero prerequisites. All right, so first of all, of course, everybody that starts their journey with CDF, they need to ask for Docker account permission. So you need to create a Docker Hub account and then email your username to some folks in MicroFocus. But other than that, I'll just show what is done on those servers. So some of the tasks need to be done both on worker and on master. So I'm installing here a cronid. That's my way of synchronizing time because when you have multiple Docker hosts, they need to be synchronized between themselves. So this is exactly what we're doing. Here we have the master and the worker trying to download the cronid bits. So let's let it work for a while and then we'll create some more tasks. All right, so now we're making a directory for the cronid. Okay, and then we will create a drift file for the cronid so it would be able to work properly. Now I'm doing it on both servers, but I have the option here in the multi-SSH to actually send a single command to both servers so they would be able to execute them simultaneously. So I'll do practically that. There we go. Okay, so I made a mistake over here. So yeah, basically I have a, an extra character there. So I'm gonna paste it once more, but this time with a proper tag. There we go. And same goes for worker. Basically we specify the name of this time server that we have over here. And then of course we are going to set the time zone to UTC on both servers because I just like UTC. It's very generic, easy to work with, easy to interpret for any time zone really. And now I'm going to send a single command to both of those servers, enable, and I'm verifying that the commands really worked. So here's another command. Okay, and now we are going to do make a step 200. Okay, let's see the other one. Yes, it's completely fine. Okay, and now we're going to restart the cronid. And now we're going to see time date CTL. All right, there we go. Once and twice. Okay, the UTC is set on both servers. Here I see it. Very important. Now let's see the hardware clock. All right, so let's see the hardware clock. I'm pasting one command for both of them. And that synchronizes the hardware clock for us. Okay, now I have installation commands that are a little bit different for master and worker nodes. So this is the command for the master, and I just copied it from the help file. Always work with the help file, guys. This is super important. Okay, and another command goes for the worker itself. Go for it, worker. All right, and there we go. So while it installs, I'm taking another command. We need to remove the IPv6 from the host file on both of those servers. So While it's installing the bits, you know what? I'll just duplicate the master tab and I'll duplicate the worker, just to speed up the thing. So I'm going to modify this IPv6. As you see, I'm just going to comment it out and save. Oh, come on, what did I do? Yes. And then save. And then another command for this. I'm going to comment it out and I'm going to save. So that removes the local host pointing to the IPv6 address, which is completely fine with us. All right. And now we are going to do the netlifier. Let's see that the installs are done. This one is done and this one is done. So let me close the duplicate tabs. And here we have the master and worker again. And I'm continuing with the commands that are suitable for both of the products of the server. So we are enabling the BR netlifier. Let's see if it works. Yes, that's one, and that's two. Fantastic. Now we need to add more configurations to the system. So I'll go and do it on both of those servers. Okay, and basically we are going to specify some settings for net bridge, IPv6, and everything else, IPv forwarding, kernel, and save and say exit. And then, of course, going down, we're going to paste it here as well and save. Both of those are also available from help. And now we need to apply those changes. So there we go. Okay, I forgot a slash at the beginning. So this is how you apply the system settings, and then it immediately confirms to you here at the bottom every setting that it's saved so far. All right, fantastic. So that was part number one. Okay, so let's do part number two. This one deals with the master node. All right, so I'm going to close the worker just not to confuse myself. And there I am. I'm in the root folder and I have some stuff over here. Basically, I have the metadata, which tells the suite what bits to download later on. But I have the bits already pre-downloaded, so I'm going to do an offline installation rather than online pull from Docker Hub. And of course, I have the CDF itself. So I'm going to unzip the installation bits. And it's going to take a while, so let's skip. Okay, it was unzipped, and now we're looking at the folder and actually has the item suite. And it's a kind of a duplicate of this file, so just to conserve some space, I'm going to remove the old file. Yeah, we don't need it really. So now it's a little bit cleaner over here, and we're going to unzip the zip that was inside the zip, essentially. All right, and there it is deflating, and let's skip to the end of it. It's like 2 minutes. Okay, we are done. So now we have the folder, and I'm going to remove this zip file as well. It's like almost 3 GB of unnecessary space. So I don't want to use it. So now I'm going to go into the folder, list the folder contents, and now we have to do something very interesting. So there are several properties that we need to change. And those properties include the CIDR, I believe. So I'm going to perform search CIDR, go for it. It's oh no, that's not what I wanted. Control W, enter, Control W, enter. And I think it's just one page down. Yes. So the default CIDR is actually colliding with this environment that I have. A Docker cannot have that because it has kind of built-in DHCP, so it can, by mistake, give one of the pods an address that already exists somewhere in my environment, somewhere in my network. So I need to change it to something that would not be existing even by mistake. Okay, and I'm gonna change it to 30 basically. 30 sounds like a good number. That's one. Now, the second part that I need to change is, oh, actually don't need to change it. So the other one is a default BIP, but it's .17 and it's completely fine. Now what I need to look is proxy. All right, Docker proxy and no proxy settings. I need to set them. So I'm gonna remove the comments out so it would be applicable. And I'm going to specify exactly what I need over here. So it's going to be http://proxy. That's our internal proxy. It's not applicable to anybody else. And then it's going to be exactly the same thing. Notice that for HTTPS proxy, I'm providing an HTTP address because you need to notice if your organization has only one address and they don't have a HTTPS version of the proxy, you need to specify it correctly. Otherwise, you would have some problems. Okay, and no proxy, we would include the internal domain, item.com. All right, so I guess it's item.com. I don't remember the exact syntax for multiples, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is, and I need actually a screenshot of that. So, and I'll put a rectangle on it just to bring attention to it. All right. So now we can save, and now we are going to configure the NFS storage. So there is a setting that I need to add to the previously set parameters. Basically, when you operate a database inside an NFS storage, in some at some point of its life, an NFS is going to fault and freeze without giving you any notice. And this setting solves it. It just removes the, what was it, leases enable 0. So basically, it's going to fix this specific problem. So there we're going to apply it, and there we have leases enabled. Only on NFS server, that's where you need to put it. Okay, now I'm going to create some storage. And basically there is a script built into the suite for the POC setups like we have right now. And I'm just pasting a whole bunch of those just to see that it can be just done in one go. And also the documentation has this as a copy paste for you if you want. Of course, if you're setting up a dedicated NFS storage, there is a procedure in the help files that actually provides some info about how to do that. Basically, there are just a couple of more steps. You create the folders with the program permissions, and then you expose the NFS storage, and then you modify your FS stub to keep the settings permanent in every upload and in every reboot, sorry. So now I just need to verify that all of the volumes are created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is exactly what I need. And compare it to my screenshot that I have. Okay. So now I'm going back to the installation folder, and I'm going to specify the command for installation, which says basically, well, install and use this metadata from a folder up above, and then specify what is the NFS server, which is the master server itself, and a folder where to put some stuff. So there we go. It will run a prerequisite check and give you some warnings, but you need to pick and choose. Basically, there is a whole LVM storage and Docker volume allocation that you need to do, but you can skip those parts if you don't really care about the stability of your system in the long term. And if you have limited disk space, let's put it this way, because otherwise you need to attach new volumes, new hard disks to your VM, and then you need to do the whole shebang of configuring them properly, and it's just too painful for the purpose that I have over here. Okay, so the warnings seem to be acceptable to me, so I'm gonna say yes, I agree. And it will ask me for a password, so I'm gonna give it the password for the admin that's about to come, and there it goes, and it's going to install the whole suite right now. And let's skip to the end of it. It's just a bunch of OK statuses for about 5 minutes, I believe, something like that. So let's just skip to that part. Now, some of you might have noticed that I made a mistake when I was taking screenshot of the proxy server. I forgot to add a port and comment out the HTTPS proxy. So I fixed that, but I'll need to check it in a separate place, really. So yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer, but yeah, we will manage. Basically, once the Docker gets set up, I'll go and modify the proxy conf over here. Maybe it already exists, does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, so let's wait for it just a sec. And once the installation is done, probably it would create the relevant proxy setting. The most concerning part for me was, of course, the what was it? The item.com for known proxy. I tried it once before, and there was some small failure. So maybe that adding this exception fixed it for me for this attempt. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So let's skip to the end of this installation. Okay, so there we go. We got ourselves a URL over here, and the login name is admin, and of course the password was already set up. So let me open here a new tab, and we'll try to enter this. In the meanwhile, let me check that the proxy setting. Okay, so it's not set over here. I hope it captured the proper setting anyways. So because this is a self-signed certificate, of course, any browser would notify that this is not secure, help. But yeah, self-signed certificates, when they're yours, they're completely safe. And there is also a way to ignore them. Okay, so let's start the installation. This one is going to be pretty simplistic. So we go for next, we choose the version, we agree to the license agreement, and then we'll just yep, remove the operations bridge manager. We don't need it. We have it in a classic form. Okay, and we'll go for next. We choose the out-of-the-box Postgres, small deployment, and the FQDN. Because we are using a single master server, we just keep the master URL. No high availability setup. Now I'm going to add a worker node. The way it's done, you say worker item.com. Let's do it proper with a full FQDN. Username is root. The password is what it is. Now we need to check that everything there is done properly. By the way, choose loop LVM in order to skip all of the weird prerequisites for thin pool and direct LVM setups. It's just a little bit easier this way. And I'm not checking the ignore warnings just yet. I'm clicking on save because I want to see the warnings. I want to understand that the warnings that are going to pop up there are acceptable to me. So it would run its prerequisite checks on the worker node, and we'll get a list, I guess, in about a couple of seconds from now. So they must be probably the same warnings that we got during the prereq check in the installation. So let's see, LVM, no thin pool, firewall is disabled, and everything else is completely acceptable. So now I'm going to say ignore warning, and now I'm going to say save. So this action and lets the suite installer go into the worker nodes and deploy Docker and everything related to CDF on it. So it copies the bits, it installs them, and runs them by using this single action. Okay, so now it's saving, and after a short while, you see it says standard green. Now you have the option to allow suite workload to be deployed on a master node. We don't want to do that. I tried it several times. It just basically puts a time bomb in your setup, and it's completely fine if you're doing single server deployment and you want to test it out, play with it for a couple of days and throw it away. But if you need it to run more than that, don't allow the suite workload work on the master node, and just give more resources to worker and reduce resources from the master in order to accommodate it properly. All right. So we say next, and now we are going to configure which volumes corresponds to which directory. And the directories that it selected for us, actually, what, 7 of them instead of 10 that we created, which is completely fine. More directories doesn't hurt us too much. I'll use the autofill option. Okay, you need to configure at least one of them. So I'm gonna say master, and since it's a DB volume, I'm gonna say data. Okay, and now I'm gonna use the autofill. Okay, fantastic. So I need to take a screenshot of that for later when I create documentation. Okay, so a couple of them are incorrect. So you see it says log volume, but it actually needs to be log. Okay, and the conf is actually conf. Okay, so there we go. We select it. I think in the log I needed to select it from the drop-down list. Yes, there we go. And now the DB single volume is the correct one. Item logging volume is the correct one. And this too is the correct one. All right. So now we click on next, and it would verify them one by one to see if what we say is really what it should be. Okay, and in the meanwhile, let me place a screenshot. Configure the DB vol manually. Okay, and it says, well, do you want to start deploying? I say yes, go for it. There we go. Now it's the download images time. This is the thing that takes the most time because you need to download a bunch of stuff. But I already pre-downloaded, so what I'm going to do instead is just uh, unzip it. Okay, but first of all, we need to prepare the package. And basically, when you select the offline download, it gives you a zip file to download, which has all the scripts pre-configured for your specific needs. You see, it says 0 of the 57 are available at the moment. So we're going to say next. It specifies what is expected of you. And then in the start download, it will actually give me a script for downloading. Now I'll go and delete my older version of this file. You see, it prepares the files for download. Basically, it means that it's generating the script. So I'm going to download the script package over here, and I need to transfer it to the master node. Use whatever program you have for transferring files between Windows and Linux. I'm using WinSCP. It's free. It's able to work with my RDP and shell managers. So there we go. Just close it. And now I need to unzip the offline download. All right. So now I'm gonna see the offline download. We're there. Okay, but now I need to create a specified default folder for downloads. Okay, and yeah, I have a type over here. It should be made here with a single one. Okay, and now I can unzip the pre-downloaded images. But basically, the difference is, let me show you. The difference is you run download images once, you specify your Docker username and password, and it downloads the images to this folder. I already did that and saved it into the images.zip file in the root folder. So instead, I'm just going to unzip the images.zip into the same folder, simulating the download images, and then we're going to use the upload images to put them into the registry. So let's do exactly that. I'm going to run the unzip. Go for it. Okay, now while it's unzipping those, what is it, like 13 gigabytes or something, let's just put it on pause. Okay, so they were unzipped. It takes a little bit of time, and to save space on this not very big server, I'm going to remove the offline packages over here. Don't need them anymore. And now I'm going to run the upload images. Basically, it would take all the images that were unzipped so far, and it would put them into the Docker registry. Okay. And are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Let's see if it finds them. Okay, and the password for the admin is going to be whatever I set it to be. And let's see if it's uploading the images properly. It just confirms if this is the same folder that I meant. Usually it wouldn't ask you this question because the folder name would match the date in the upload script, but this time it didn't, so it kind of asked me, whoa, do you mean what you mean? So let's wait for the first image to be uploaded successfully, and then we're gonna hit the pause, so you don't need to wait for like 20 minutes until the images are uploaded. Sometimes it takes up to 40 minutes. So let's see, there it uploads the first one. Go for it, come on. Yes, okay, so the folder was specified correctly, so now we're safe to assume that all the 57 images will be uploaded correctly. So I'm gonna hit pause and we'll return right after the images were uploaded successfully for the final stage. Okay, and the bits were uploaded, so we're going back to our installer wizard over here. And now it's going to check everything it can. Okay. Okay, number of images. Let's see, check again. All right, 57 out of 57. We win again. All right, so now it's going to, it's kind of important, but it's not really important at the moment. It's more or less just kind of validating slash importing. Okay, so we wait just a little bit, then the deployment happens. We say next, and there it continues to deploying all of those bits. So this one might take a couple of minutes, so let's pause and skip to that part. Okay, so there we go. It's installed, deployed, and we say next. Okay, and here begins the last stage, is the suite configuration. Basically, all the components that we have, we're going to configure some defaults for them. So configuration type, we're going to use custom configuration. and we're going to use the certificate generated by item platform because self-signed certificates is the way we do it. Of course, if you have some properly made, publicly acceptable certificates, you can use them in your production environments, but for POCs, just use the self-generated. Just gonna have less of a headache when operating those. All right, so there it tries to implement some security and then it will jump into BVD. So let's give it the opportunity to do so. We're already, what, 30 minutes in, but we're skipping several bits that require us to wait, which is no biggie. It's a completely fine, normal installation. With the bits already downloaded, would take about 2 hours. With the download, well, add another half an hour. Ooh, service temporary unavailable for some reason. Not sure what it means. Let's try to get back, or even maybe login back to the system. Let's see. Yeah, maybe it was a session timeout on the part of the suite, or maybe it just jumped into conclusions faster. Yeah, it just tried to load something that it's faster than it's loaded in the background. So there we have, we're using the internal Postgres for the BVD. And now we are going to configure some COSO related stuff. Okay, so we have a Vertica in pre-configured container. So this is a POC setup and the Vertica would be as a container. In all other situations, including some POCs with more than one data source, please use external Vertica. It's very easy to deploy. Bits are provided with the suite POC bits down for download, so it's completely fine. And if you cut a corner or two, I think I have a video about that, about how to deploy this kind of Vertica, but that's a couple of minutes of your time, or let's say 10 minutes of your time, and you have an external Vertica that can work with your needs. Okay, so we're setting up the passwords for some default users, the DB admin, and then for Vertica read only, which is something that you need to put in your BVD or whatever is connecting for analytics to your Vertica, and of course the read-write permissions. All right, schema prefix, item DI works for me. Use database time zone. It's going to be UTC because everything that we have here is UTC. Okay, and then use database time zone. It continues to collection services. Now the last three are just there to indicate that you actually selected them. So it would not ask us to do anything. It would just say configuring and then you click on next. Okay, collection service configuration is complete. And you say next. Okay, it's being configured. I don't know if it's being configured. I think it's just queued for startup one by one with maybe some verifications. But basically, yeah, that's how you do it. It's complete. We click on next and we say apply configuration. I think this is the last step, which would give us the pop-up that the suite is deployed. And from that point on, we are just waiting for BVD to start. All right. So let's do just that. So from the standpoint of how easy it is to do, it all depends. I mean, the prerequisites are pretty straightforward. They used to be much more demanding, but now it became a little bit easier. It's still kind of hard to deploy, if you ask me, but then again, we need to consider the amount of things that are going to be deployed with every one of those. It's Docker and Kubernetes and all kind of system settings that stand in their way. Um, in their way to function properly, right? So all this needs to be addressed. And then we deploy a bunch of pods and containers, and they need to have some pre-configured settings, and they were exposed to us in a nice web form. And if you ever try to build your own Docker image, you know how hard it can be, how many things you need to do in the command line just to get the basic stuff pre-configured there, not to mention inherited later on. So we're in a good spot. I mean, we have the whole security exposed hard here for hardening, certificate exchange, and everything. So pretty good. All right. So Osprey Suite deployment was triggered successfully. So from this point on, the BVD would try to come up, and it would take it about 5 to 10 minutes for the first time. And that concludes the installation of the suite. I hope you liked it. Hit that subscribe button and like, of course, and I'll see you in the next video.